Level 1. Infantry Recruit. You're 19. Fort Benning 2006. Basic combat training. 10 weeks. You learn to march, to shoot, to clean a weapon until it functions without thinking about it. The M16 qualification is day 23. You shoot prone, kneeling, standing. The targets pop up at 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300 meters. You need 23 hits out of 40 to qualify. You hit 38. Your drill sergeant, a staff sergeant named Oduya from Dallas, who communicates in a register that is specifically designed to produce soldiers, notes your score without commenting on it. He adds you to a list. You don't know about the list until week 8, when a sergeant first class named Briggs from the 2nd Infantry Division visits your company and watches 3 soldiers shoot on the qualification range. You're one of 3. He watches you shoot. He says nothing. 3 weeks after graduation, you receive orders to report to Fort Benning's sniper school. The school's acceptance rate is approximately 50%. You don't know this yet. You know you can hit targets consistently at distances where most people stop being accurate. Consistent accuracy is the entry requirement. What the school teaches is everything that accuracy requires beyond the shot. Level 2. Sniper School. You're 20. Fort Benning, 2007. 5 weeks. The first week establishes something you didn't fully understand before. The shot is the last 20% of the job. The first 80% is everything that makes the shot possible. Movement, concealment, observation, target detection, range estimation, wind reading, the specific patience of a person who has been in a position for 18 hours and has not moved significantly and will not move significantly until the mission requires it. The ghillie suit takes 3 days to build. You build it from scratch. A base suit covered in natural materials specific to the operational environment, designed to break the human outline completely. When it's done, Briggs walks to within 6 feet of you lying in a field and doesn't see you. He says, "You're here." You say nothing. He says, "I knew you were here because I know where I put you." The enemy won't know where you are because they won't know where to look. The stalking exercise. You move 800 meters over 2 hours and fire 2 blank rounds from a concealed position. An instructor with binoculars tries to locate you based on the muzzle flash and sound. If he locates you, you fail. You move slowly enough that movement is not detectable. You choose terrain that breaks your silhouette before you need to fire. Both shots are undetected. The shooting phase, 200 meters to 800 meters. Known distance, unknown distance. Moving targets, low light, cold bore. Cold bore is the first shot from a weapon that has not been recently fired. The barrel temperature affects the shot in ways that are predictable if you understand the weapon's specific behavior. You understand your weapon's specific behavior by the 3rd week. You graduate, top 3rd. Level 3. Scout Sniper, first deployment. You're 21. Iraq, 2008. Mosul. Your team is 2 people, you and your spotter, a sergeant named Vasquez who has been doing this for 4 years and operates with the specific economy of someone who has eliminated everything from his professional behavior that is not directly useful. The sniper team's mission is support to ground operations, providing overwatch for patrols, identifying and eliminating threats that ground forces can't safely engage, gathering intelligence through observation. Most of the job is the observation part. You spend hours in positions watching areas where something might happen. Most of the time, nothing happens. This is not a failure, it's the mission. Your presence in the overwatch position shapes the behavior of the area below you. The patrol you're covering moves more safely because of what you're doing. Your first shot in a combat environment. You won't describe the specific circumstances. Operational security and personal preference both. You'll say the target presented, the ROE were met. The decision was made in under 3 seconds, the shot was taken. The shot was taken. Vasquez calls the hit. He says, "Good shot." You say nothing. The patrol continues. The mission continues. You continue. In the debrief, you report the engagement. You describe the target, the distance, the conditions, the decision. You describe it the way the manual requires. Accurate, complete, defensible. That night, you eat a ration pack and clean your weapon and sleep for 5 hours. The weapon is clean before you sleep. That's always the order. Level 4. Scout Sniper. Experienced. You're 24. Afghanistan 2011. 3rd deployment, Kunar Province. The terrain is different from Iraq in every way. Vertical instead of flat, green instead of brown. The distances are sometimes 1,000 meters and sometimes 50. The threat environment is different. The patient's requirements are the same. You've made 11 confirmed engagements across 3 deployments. You don't think about the number in the way that the mythology of sniper work suggests snipers think about numbers. You think about each one specifically. The conditions, the decision, the outcome. The specificity is the point. Specificity is what keeps the work from becoming abstract. Abstract is the direction you don't go. A mission. A known facilitator for an IED network has been located at a compound. He moves irregularly, sometimes inside, sometimes outside. No predictable pattern. Your team has been in the overwatch position for 11 hours when he appears. The conditions: 680 meters, 12 miles per hour crosswind from the left, slight uphill angle dusk light. You read the conditions, you make the adjustments, you take the shot. The facilitator goes down. The IED network loses a node. Somewhere, a patrol that would have driven over a device doesn't. You'll never know which patrol. That's correct. The work doesn't produce that kind of accounting. Vasquez confirms. He says, good win call. You say, it shifted at the last second. He says, you adjusted. You say, yes. Level 5 Senior Sniper. You're 27. Various 2014. Before we go any further, drop a comment below. What career do you want to see next? Hit like, subscribe. We post every single day. You've been to sniper school twice, your initial course and an advanced course at Fort Bragg. You've been to a precision marksmanship course in the UK with elements of the British Army who do this work. You understand the physics of long-range shooting in a way that has moved from learned to instinctive. The longest confirmed shot in combat is 1.5 miles. You've shot to 1,400 meters in training. In combat, the longest you've needed was 880 meters. The distance isn't the point. The principle is the same at every distance. Understand the conditions, understand the weapon, understand the target, make the decision correctly. The decision is the part that the training teaches and the experience refines, and neither one resolves. You've made 18 confirmed engagements. Each one had a decision point. The moment when the ROE were met, the conditions were right, and the shot was yours to take or not take. Some of the decision points were clear. The target was unambiguous. The authorization was direct. The conditions were favorable. Some were less clear. The target was probably who you'd been told he was. The authorization was broad enough to cover the engagement, but not specific to this one. The conditions were adequate but not ideal. You took the shots you were authorized to take and had sufficient conditions for. You held the ones you weren't certain about. You've held 2 shots in 4 deployments. Both times you reported the hold and the reason. Both times the intelligence picture confirmed your uncertainty was justified. The holds kept you inside the decision framework. That's what they're for. Level 6, Sniper Section Leader. You're 30. 4 snipers. You're responsible for their training, their readiness, their professional development, and their performance in the field. The training is continuous. Precision marksmanship degrades faster than most military skills. You maintain it through regular qualification, range time, scenario work. The physical standards are maintained. The mental standards are maintained. Mental standards for sniper work include the ability to make engagement decisions under time pressure with incomplete information, the ability to hold a position for extended periods without the activity that keeps other soldiers engaged, and the specific psychological processing of engagements after the fact. The after-the-fact processing is not talked about in the mythology. The mythology has snipers as cold and unaffected. The reality is that the work requires full human engagement in the decision and full human consequence of that engagement. The consequence is processed or it accumulates in ways that eventually affect the work. One of your snipers, a specialist named Torres, 23, technically excellent, 2 deployments, is accumulating. You see it in the pattern of his performance after his most recent deployment. Technically sound, emotionally flat, in a way that's different from the controlled affect that the work requires. You talk to him, not in the official channel first, person to person. He talks, you listen. You direct him to the support that exists and you stay in contact. The support helps. The flatness lifts. He continues. You did for him what nobody did for you at 23. You learned what to do by not having it done. Level 7, Master Sniper/Instructor. You're 34, the school. You're back at Fort Benning as an instructor. The generation of snipers you're teaching will deploy to environments you haven't been to, using equipment that has advanced, facing threats that have evolved. What hasn't changed? The physics of the shot, the discipline of the decision, the patience of the work. You teach the stalking exercise the way Briggs taught you. You build the ghillie suit from scratch. You put the students in the field. You walk to within 6 feet of them and tell them you're there. Some of them you can find, some you can't. The ones you can find need to understand why. The ones you can't find need to understand something else. The not being found is the skill, not the shooting. The shooting is the last 20%. They need to internalize this before they're in a position where the last 20% is the only thing they're thinking about. A student, young, excellent natural shooter, the best in the cohort, struggles with patience, not with being still and with accepting that most of the time in this work, the shot doesn't come. The mission is hours of nothing followed by the requirement to be completely ready for a window that may last seconds. You put him in a position for 8 hours with a specific instruction. Do not move. Observe. Report everything you see. Nothing happens for 8 hours. He reports everything he saw anyway. You say, what did you learn? He says that nothing happening is data. You say, what else? He thinks. He says that I was ready the whole time. You say, now you understand the job. Level 8. Special Operations Senior Role. You're 38. You've been assigned to a Special Operations unit. The nature of the work is more specific and less describable than conventional sniper operations. The missions are more sensitive. The environments are more denied. The decision framework is tighter in some ways and requires more judgment in others. 27 engagements across 5 deployments. Each one documented, each one reviewed, each one living in a specific place in your memory that is organized by the conditions and the decision and the outcome. An engagement that you review for months afterward. The target met the ROE. The conditions were adequate, the shot was taken, the hit was confirmed. The intelligence assessment that identified the target was later revised, not to say the target was wrongly identified, but to say the certainty of the identification was lower than the pre-operation briefing indicated. The target was probably who the intelligence said. Not certainly. You review the decision framework. Given what you knew at the time, the decision was correct. Given what was later understood about the intelligence quality, the decision was made with more certainty than the intelligence warranted. These are different statements. You hold both of them. You don't reach a resolution. You document your analysis. You contribute to a review of the intelligence quality standards for this type of engagement. The work teaches you specific things about the difference between what the process produces and what happened. Both matter. Neither erases the other. Level 9. Sniper Course Director. You're 44. You run the school. The curriculum, the standards, the instructors, the evolution of training methodology as the threat environment evolves. You've been in this work for 23 years. You know what it produces in the people who do it and what it requires to do it correctly. A curriculum review. The psychological component of sniper training has been supplemented over the years with more formal resilience and processing support. The institutional acknowledgement that the work has psychological dimensions that require professional support. You push for more. You push for the psychological preparation and post-deployment support to be integrated into the core curriculum rather than supplementary to it. You make the argument, the decision to engage, and the processing of that decision afterward are technical requirements of the sniper role. They belong in the training. The argument is partially accepted. The integration is partial. You continue pushing in the official channel. An instructor on your staff, Sergeant Major Torres, who was the specialist you pulled back from the edge 15 years ago, says after one of the curriculum discussions, "You've been making this argument for 8 years. You say it takes as long as it takes." He says, "What changed?" You say, "Every time I make the argument, one more person understands why it's in the curriculum's interest. That's not nothing." He says, "Is it enough?" You say, "It will be eventually. I won't be here to see it." That's fine. Level 10. Retired Master Sniper. You're 50. Montana, 2037. 29 years. The retirement was quiet by preference. A ceremony at Fort Benning, the people you'd served with, a handshake from the post commander, a plaque with your service record. No speeches. You live in western Montana. You chose it for specific reasons. Elevation, distance, the specific quality of quiet that exists at altitude in a place that is not performing anything for anyone. You hunt, not for sport in the casual sense, with the attention you brought to everything for 29 years. You're in the field before dawn. You read wind and terrain and the behavior of the country. You take shots when the conditions and the judgment justify them, and you decline when they don't. The rifle in the field now is different from the weapons you carried for 29 years. The decision framework is the same. This consistency is either something you chose or something the work built into you, and you've decided the distinction doesn't matter. You think about Briggs, who walked to within 6 feet and told you were there. You think about Vasquez, who called hits and moved immediately to the next thing. You think about Torres, who learned that nothing happening is data, and that being ready the whole time is the job. You think about the 27 engagements. Each one specifically, not in the mythology's way, not as a count, not as evidence of skill, as decisions. 27 decisions you made in specific conditions with specific information and specific consequences. Some were clear, some were less clear. All of them are yours. You held the framework. 29 years, 2 holds, 27 shots taken. The framework held. The mountain is doing what it does in the early morning. The light coming in from the east, the specific color of it at altitude. The country extending in every direction to distances that require the patience you've been practicing since you were 20 years old. You're in the field. You're ready. That was all.